been an idea long in the making, and I'm very glad that it worked out. And I think we are very lucky with timing, because this is a day, this is a moment where Croatia is actually in the news quite a lot. And of course we are lucky in timing because of the presence of Vesna Pusic. A word perhaps just about this series, Return to Europe. I mean, the theme is self-explanatory. I run, together with colleagues here, a think tank, ESI, and we do reports. But a few years ago we realized reports don't reach as many people as we would like to reach to communicate big ideas. So we got some foundations on board, Erste Foundation in Vienna, some television stations in Europe, public TV stations, and we persuaded them to do a 10-part series of 1-hour documentaries to capture the power of this big idea, Return to Europe, transforming one of the regions of Europe where the Middle East was the 1990s, where it was even more recent. And to show how once the journalists and war correspondents had left this region, dramatic change continued, but was often not noticed. So we did these 10 films, and fortunately the strategy worked. More than 4 million people just in Germany, Austria and Switzerland saw these films. Probably 5 million in total, because they were all shown in Armenia, in Moldova, in Balkan countries, in Central European countries. Al Jazeera took up some. And then we said, well, there were some countries missing. In fact, Croatia was missing. We'd left this up for the end. So last year we started doing a film on Croatia, the 11th part of this series. And I'm very glad that we were able to do Croatia, because there are some misconceptions, I find, particularly among Croatia's neighbors. And the sense among some of Croatia's neighbors is that the return to Europe for Croatia was easy. I find this when I talk to people in Skopje or in Sarajevo and Belgrade, but Croatia has these friends, Germany in particular. And they've always made it easy, and there wasn't much they had to do, and they're rich. And in fact, of course, if you look close and if you remember Croatia, as I do from working in the Balkans in the late 90s, you know, it was everything but easy. And that's really the central message we try to capture in the research and in the film. And this is also why Croatia is relevant as the first of the really war-torn places from the 90s in the Balkans to reach the destination. And what is interesting when you look at how hard it was is that you actually assess the power of this idea today. There are still politicians, there are civil society activists, there are whole parliaments and voters who are willing to do hard things to get to Europe, to return to Europe and become fully part. Now, in this story, there were a lot of protagonists, but I particularly get with Vesna Pusic here because she's been a protagonist of the first hour. I remember when we interviewed you and you said it was hard in the early 90s to be a pro-European liberal in Croatia. You were, and you continue to fight for it in civil society, in opposition, in parliament, and now as foreign minister. And defending minorities, defending cooperation with ICTY, defending the European idea. So it's particularly interesting to have you as foreign minister as Croatia enters the EU. I think this is a good lesson to ambitious young liberals in the rest of the region. It is actually possible to make countries become more like yourself, when in fact, sometimes in the 90s it looked as if there were not that many liberals around. Now, we are also going to have a little debate after the film. When you make a film about a country that is changing so fast, it's sometimes difficult. And so one of the challenges for us as we made this film was that we didn't know some key decisions, so we decided to, at the end, when it was broadcast first in Austria, to put a little reminder on the case against Ivo Sanader. We don't know the outcome. So this was one. On the case against the generals, we don't know the outcome. It's still ongoing. The only thing where we put our flag to the, where we really nailed our flag to the mast was we say Croatia will join next summer. And then we hear the German president of the Bundestag suddenly express some doubts. Now, we continue to believe that Croatia will join next summer. But on everything else, this is literally the first time I see this new version where the end has been changed. And now it actually says first instance sentence against Ante Gotovina is this. And of course, the second instance and final sentence against the generals is that. But when we made the film, we didn't know, and so we had to make a film that was open to all outcomes. Except, as I said, we are quite convinced that next summer will not change. But the title then poses a problem. I had a little discussion on the internet recently with the lawyer, Mr. Gotovina, who before the sentence came out said, why do you call it Twilight of Heroes? Gotovina will be rehabilitated. And we said, well, it's very interesting that you immediately think that a film about Croatia, that the hero is only Gotovina. Because we actually thought of President Tudjman. Because when we started in '99, here was the man who had founded founding president, won his wars, and yet, I won't tell you what is in the film, and yet today people don't actually think of him as a hero. So the Twilight of Heroes, I think the title still survives the rehabilitation by the court of the general, but it will be interesting to sort of ask questions afterwards. What does all of this mean? Croatia's success, the debates in Europe, the Euro crisis, the sentences, and we'll have Vesna Pusic to answer to your questions. So I'll leave at that, thanking everybody, and I hope you'll enjoy the film. And if you don't enjoy the film, I hope you'll participate in the debate with your comments.